On behalf of the chair, Senator Tillis. Thank you, Senator Tillis. We had to do a chair transition there. I'm not going to cover most of what's been covered in the hearing. I think my colleagues have done a good job. I do have one question that relates more to marijuana trade. I want to go down this line of questioning. First, what insight do you all have with the cartels still growing and distributing illicit inputs that are getting into the state legal supply chains? Do you have any intel on that?
The cartels are still very much involved, sir.
Very much involved, and I mean by involved by a lot. And this is, but it's a little bit different now because it's not necessarily dealing on the street, but it's having inputs going into what become legally available products in the states that have legalized marijuana or cannabis extracts. That's what I'm getting at. Mr. Perez, were you about to say something?
Sure. No, just to add to that, for cartels, we've seen timeshare fraud cases. So they continue, just because marijuana is illegal, maybe, or legal in certain places, cartels are going to continue to find ways to make money regardless of whatever the environment is. Yeah.
It just seems to me that they're. I've tried to keep pounding the table and saying, folks, those of us who were not necessarily eager to legalize pot have lost. The majority of states have legalized it at some level or another. I don't really have a whole lot of emotions about it personally, but for the fact that I don't think we're regulating it properly, and I do believe it's just become another distribution channel for the cartels. Now I want to talk about something a little bit closer to home. I really need some help from DEA to answer this question. How does a pot growing facility in North Carolina that's not connected to the boundary of the eastern band of the Cherokee somehow get produced here, get grown here, the extracts are created here, and then magically find itself in through a patch of land that is not boundary, and then find itself for sale? I mean, how can I get an answer from the DEA on how this magical process occurs where something's transported in an illegal area and then not viewed as an illegal activity? Mr. Allen.
Sir, what I can comment on is what we recently experienced in Los Angeles. And I apologize, I'm not as familiar with.
I wouldn't expect you to be briefed up on this. But.
Yes, what I can comment on is we had a similar instance in the Los Angeles area recently last week, where our people raided a almost 800 acre, if you can imagine that, 800
growing
acre.
Operation.
Yes, sir. And it
was it a legal growing operation?
No, sir. And it was on tribal land as well.
Interesting.
And as a result of that operation, we actually uncovered there were 47 Chinese nationals on the property who are here illegally. We believe as a result of human smuggling, because many of them were locked into their temporary living quarters and locked into their working areas. So it touches a lot.
I need some help. Because the boundary in North Carolina, for those who don't know, the boundary where the eastern band of the Cherokee are, it's out in the very end of the state, near where South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee all North Carolina all converge. They've got a growing. I mean, they have a right to sell marijuana, I guess, as a recognized tribe, but they're growing in one place and selling in another place. Not only are they, and let's face it, folks, it's a casino operation, it's a destination. People are buying this stuff. You'd have to be out of your mind to think that they're going to dispose of whatever's not used by the time they leave. So we're moving to this island where it's legal, and then people are driving out. That people got to just take responsibility for transporting things they're not supposed to legally, but they're growing it in a patch of land that's not connected to the boundary, and I've got to believe that that's an illegal transport. At what point does it become trafficking? Because this is at scale. And so it's something that I'll be reaching out. I have with the prior administrator, Milgram, and I'm going to reach out and just give me a definitive answer. If it's a legal enterprise, fine, but I've yet to get an answer to it, and I'd like to get a crisp answer. I don't know. The other thing I want to say here is we're seeing stuff, Tutti Frutti. I don't know. Is that an adult targeted segment kind of name there? Or does it feel a little bit like you're attracting the younger audience for this sort of thing? And then maybe you are. because the chief of the Eastern Band of the Cherokee saying kids are getting testing positive for pot. So I wanted to use this here. I get the other part. The last thing I want to leave you with, I'm worried. I mean, we've got to get this under control. We have to realize that pot is going to be legal in this country in one form or another in virtually every other state. We can either figure out how to regulate it by putting a U.S. Department of Agriculture regimen in, an FDA regimen in, the same way that we do with alcohol and tobacco, or we're going to get way down the road without control over inputs. And the next thing the cartels are going to do is figure out how they can put other in the race for potency. Once they run out of how you can actually do this through the plants, they're going to figure out some way to make this more potent and more deadly. And I feel very strongly that we need to have a separate meeting about how do we create a construct that if states want to opt into, they can, not make it legal federally, or this is getting out of control. And this Eastern Band of the Cherokee anomaly is one example of what happens when Congress fails to act on something that I think it's time for us to act on. On behalf of the chair, Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks.